Welcome back to another episode of Beer, Bacon, and Bros. As always, we got Alex, Chris, and Keith. No Adam tonight. I don't even know what he's doing. He just said he wasn't coming. So, we're going to get into the quarterbacks that were drafted here from the NFL draft and talk about maybe who had the best fit and who's ultimately going to have the best career. But before we jump into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button for us. It's free to you. Really helps out our channel, and we're kind of on fire right now with our subscribers. So we appreciate the family and the support coming to back us. And, all right, so let's get into it. I know you're probably going to be pretty homer on this one. Can't blame you. Great pick. Great opportunity for him. I'm going to be interested to kind of see your opinion on this. I've been thinking a little bit harder about this because when the draft ended, I immediately said this guy. But I don't know. I've kind of changed my mind over the last 24 hours about it. So, obviously, we're covering just the quarterbacks that were drafted, not any of the signees like my guy Carson Strong, who should have been drafted but apparently got a really banger contract from the Eagles. So, we'll just jump right into it. Best quarterback in the best fit who's ultimately going to have the best career. And you can even break those into part. Like, if you think somebody else fits better, but somebody's going to have the best career, say it.
Yeah, so, obviously being a Steelers fan, the homer in me does want to say Kenny Pickett.
Justified.
I do think he has a potential to be the NFL quarterback. Hopefully, if he's not showing himself to be the day one guy, we truly do use Trubisky as the bridge quarterback, where we let Pickett sit, let Trubisky, take more of the beatings. So I'm a big advocate of the NFL. Quarterbacks don't need to be restarting their rookie year. They need to ride the pine for a couple years and learn the system. I do think Malik Willis could have fit our system as well. I just don't think he was as proven as Pickett. Just talking to you a little bit because you followed Liberty football with our college football fantasy, that Malik just had some games to where, playing some weaker opponents, he shouldn't have been throwing the interceptions he should have been. Yeah. Just other things that to me, that just leaves a big question mark, and I don't want to have that as an NFL quarterback. I do believe, though, that Trubisky's going to surprise people. I do like Pickett. I am very surprised, though, at how long it went from Pickett being picked to the next quarterback in the NFL draft. There was a huge gap going from 20th in the first round to the third round. It's insane to me. I do think Matt Corral will, if he can bounce back from his injury, he'll have a good NFL career. I do think it will be, I think Pickett and Corral will be the last two quarterbacks staying in this draft class.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd agree with that. And I would also agree that there's no quarterback in here that's going to start day one.
There shouldn't. I don't
Not
think
a single quarterback in this class is going to start day one. I think that was proven with only one going in the first two rounds.
Yeah.
Pickett definitely is in the best system. He's got a good defense around him. He's got a great, he's got a really good offense around him with a couple of receivers, a good running game. Matt Corral, if he can bounce back, definitely would have I think he's got a lot to prove, especially with breaking, was it a broken leg or a torn ACL in the
I think it was an ankle, actually.
It was an ankle? Okay. Yeah. Well, whatever injury he sustained, in his bowl game, I think he's got a lot to prove to come back. I was never high on Malik Willis. It didn't surprise me that he didn't go till the third round. I didn't think the grades were that high up on him. I think a lot of his hype was media driven, saying, "Oh God, he's gonna go here. He's gonna go here." I don't think Malik Willis is ever gonna go in the first round.
I don't think he would either. And me and Keith watched it together, and Keith could tell you I was like an emotional wreck the first time. I was just the media hype behind Malik and how everybody's like, Tomlin couldn't take his eyes off, and I was like, we're gonna take Malik. I didn't want the Steelers to draft a quarterback at all. I have faith in Trubisky to get us where we need to go. At least to make it to next year, I feel like the draft class is going to be a lot stronger.
It's going to be a lot better next year.
You'll see like at least 3 quarterbacks go in the top 10 next year. It's going to be crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be a 90-day difference between this class and next class.
But another thing is, I don't understand why certain teams drafted a quarterback. Like, I don't know why the Patriots took Bailey Zapp out of Western Kentucky. Zapp, whatever. I understand he put up big numbers in Western Kentucky, but you just drafted Mac Jones last year.
Yeah.
Who is your franchise going to be your big guy? And I'm surprised that the Dolphins took Skylar Thompson over Brock Purdy. I would have thought that Brock Purdy would have gone over Skylar Thompson.
I have no idea how Skylar Thompson got drafted over Carson Strong out of Nevada, but. And I'm with you too. I don't know how he got drafted over from Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy's not the best, but he's better than Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
And then it was also kind of a shock to me for the Steelers to take Oladukin too in the 7th round.
I was going to harp on that. I feel like that was kind of like a Tomlin and Kevin the GM just being kind of like, fuck it. Just kind of
Tomlin wanted 3 or 4 quarterbacks.
4 quarterbacks. So with the unfortunate passing of Dwayne Haskins, RIP, love you, bro. Would have been birthday that it was filming. As much as I talk crap about him, you never want to see somebody go out like that.
Absolutely.
I do think that truly was a kind of like they're just kind of like, oh well, let's at least have 4 guys in the QB room.
Tomlin wanted at least 4 in the room.
Yeah,
so.
and they were just kind of like, all right, who's best available, and then kind of
cheapest. Ultimately, this is your fourth quarterback, right? You want the cheapest option, and that's your
watch Oladukin be the last guy standing. I mean, like just being the underdog from like South Dakota State just comes out and has nothing to lose but everything to prove.
I mean, he's got decent size at 6'2", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, you can beat him up a little bit, but I mean, he's got a good size. I was actually surprised to see Sam Howell drop to the 5th round. I figured he would have gone a little higher. Maybe
Sam Howell had a lot of hype to him early the offseason pre-draft.
This time last year, he was a top 5 player, top 5 pick.
Yeah.
It's amazing what can happen in the span of a year.
And then what hurt him too was the drop off of North Carolina football.
Absolutely.
Them losing
Virginia Tech opening day. And him just throwing interceptions.
That's the owner of North Carolina football. Chris knows the struggle.
I have Virginia Tech. So.
one win and 2 losses. For a team you pay $40 for. But
I mean, it was Sam Howell going in the 5th round. I think was kind of a shock. I would have seen him in the 3rd or 4th round. But yeah, I mean, I'm with Alex. I think the 2 quarterbacks that are going to have the best careers would be Kenny Pickett and Matt Corral, who can bounce back.
And as me and Keith talked about a little bit, I just honestly can't remember what your feelings were. I know getting Matt Corral in the 3rd round for the Panthers, as being a Panthers fan yourself, I feel like that's a decent buy, getting him in the 3rd round.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, I can't remember what they gave up to get him because they had to trade up to get him, and we don't have much to trade.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they gave up to actually go up and get him, but to get him in the 3rd round is a great deal because you're not going to have to give him a lot of guaranteed money.
Yeah, because I remember you were kind of freaking out too about the 1st round that there was also the rumors of the Malik Willis going to
the Panthers,
and then Pittsburgh having to settle for Pickett, kind of that scenario. What was your thoughts on that? Like with your guys' waiting until the 3rd round to get?
I mean, I think it's a great move to the 3rd round because I mean I think there's a lot of potential there. I mean I would have much rather gone with a Matt Corral over Malik Willis and even over Desmond Ridder. I don't think Desmond Ridder's gonna really convey into the NFL scheme. I mean he's a good athlete, but I don't know if it's gonna really gonna translate into an NFL.
And I'm rooting for Matt Corral. Like we're gonna root for Panthers just kind of secondary because local team. Cool to see them go and win and stuff like that. And especially with Matt Corral, we were talking a little bit before we filmed this video. I didn't realize that Matt Corral had come out and talked about how there was issues with like his mental health and anxiety and stuff like that. And I feel like that might be related to his injury because after his injury, his draft stock fell and he probably fell on him at one time that he was like, I may not have an NFL career,
Yeah.
Because there's a projection for him to be in the late 1st round, early 2nd round. I mean, he had that type of projection. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great pick for Carolina. I think it's a great move to get him in the 3rd round. You don't have to give him a lot of guaranteed money. You can let him play and prove himself. It's almost like getting Jimmy Clausen a couple years ago in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay him.
You better hope not.
Well, no, I'm talking about value and
value where you draft
in the round. I mean, Jimmy Clausen was supposed to go in the 1st round, and we got him at like the 46th pick in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just the value.
It may have been a buzz, but the fact that you got him that late is still
right.
Right. You can live with it.
So.
Yeah, I'm not comparing Matt Corral to Jimmy Clausen in any
way. But you better hope not.
I'm just talking about value for where you got where you picked him in the draft. So
it's. Have you said who? I don't think you said who's the last one standing.
No. So after the draft, I initially said Kenny Pickett. Best opportunity, best draft scenario, best team. Best move. So, but honestly, the more I sit back and I think about Desmond Ridder going to the Falcons. I've been a big Desmond Ridder fan. I don't think he's the most accurate quarterback. I think there's plenty of things for him to still develop as far as the quarterback goes. But he's got good athleticism, and you put him in a team that's got Cordell Patterson, will eventually get Calvin Ridley back, Kenny Pickett, or Kyle Pitts. Ultimately the weapons that are already kind of there for him, they need to beef up the offensive line, but you can add some talent in other directions.
He does have a good supporting staff, supporting talent around him on the offense. They built up that, especially Kyle. If Pitts comes back, comes back healthy and strong, that's going to be a big.
The only problem I see with Desmond Ridder is I think out of all these guys, he's going to be the one that's going to be called on first to start.
That is probably true. I think Marcus Mariota definitely gets some time this year, but I think the problem with where Desmond Ridder is versus a veteran Marcus Mariota,
he's not going to have the time to sit back.
As soon as Marcus Mariota sucks, the fans are calling for him.
And that's my problem is he's not going to have the time to develop like you will have with the Kenny Pickett. Because I think through it all, Pittsburgh, unless they get out of the playoff hunt, is going to run Trubisky the entire.
That's exactly what
I think. Trubisky's going to be day one, but. Pittsburgh, Tomlin's never had a losing record his entire time as head coach of Steelers. And I think that the moment, like you said, that the Steiner starts to go off, that's when you're going to start seeing Pickett, Rudolph. You're going to see the shifting of the guard, changing of the guard throughout there.
And it's the thing that I read yesterday is somewhere around game 15 or 16, whether you're in the playoffs and you have a big advantage or you're not in the playoffs, is probably when you're going to see.
That's when you're going to see some of those players, right?
And so he's got a great time to sit back. I think Malik Willis will be called on earlier than you think. Because I think the Ryan Tannehill fan base is about this big in Tennessee right now.
Well, and the fact that they have nothing on the offense outside of Derrick Henry now, so they're going to have to put something in there.
They feel good about Trey Burks. They think Trey Burks can.
I think Trey Burks is going to be really good too.
I don't think he can do what A.J. Brown did.
So
he's not fast.
No.
Let's say Malik Willis just comes in the NFL and he just hits his stride. He meets all the expectations of the hype.
This is a fantasy.
That Titan offense is going to be insane to have the just extremely mobile quarterback.
Well, it's like having
the leading rusher of the NFL. He was leading the NFL for 4 weeks after his injury.
Yeah,
like
he's still out of the bench.
Having that entire offense that could just pick up and run. That's going to be something that's going to be hard for teams to deal with if Malik just comes up and hits his stride.
Malik Willis. They compared Malik Willis to a not as fast Michael Vick, but now watching him go to Tennessee, my biggest fear is he turns into Vince Young. Like the career that Vince Young had in Tennessee. And there's so many inconsistencies. Like you were talking about it, watching Liberty and having them on my fantasy team this past year, watching the Louisiana Monroe game, which is one of the worst teams in all of college football, and watching Malik Willis throw 4 picks in that game and lose to Monroe when they were a 35-point favorite, like that's not a good look, and that's not good competition. As much as I make fun of the ACC, Kenny Pickett had competition better than Malik Willis faced at Liberty.
Pickett had to go up against Clemson. He had to play NC State. He had to play Virginia Tech. He had to play Georgia. Georgia Tech's not that great, but they're still BC. Yeah. He had to play some really good defenses that are in the ACC.
And not only that, he also broke all of Dan Marino's records
at Pitt.
Which kind of a big name.
Just a little bit.
A little bit of a Hall of Famer.
My sleeper that I want to keep an eye on, that I want to see how it turns out, is Sam Howell. And I own North Carolina as well. Watched a lot of Sam Howell over the last couple of years. He lost all of his weapons going into this season, basically, as far as the wide receivers go. So that's a little bit of a
tough thing. Running backs.
He lost both his running backs. He did get Ty Chandler, though. Like that's not a complete drop off from his guys that he had in Michael Carter and Javonte Williams, but Sam going here in the 5th round, going to sit back behind Heineke. I think if he really Carson Wentz too,
Wentz and Heineke.
Yeah, either way.
I think Heineke's the better one.
I think Heineke's the better one.
Probably.
Too. So ultimately, Sam's probably going to get a year or two, and he's going to get a time to develop. Now, granted, I still will sit in this chair on this day and say that Sam Howell's the next Baker Mayfield, and it's not going to work out, right? But if there's time, there's an organization here that has some talent around it.
Very similar.
Maybe there is an opportunity for Sam Howell to work out too. But I'm with you. I think Kenny Pickett's going to have a great career. I'm really intrigued by Desmond Ridder. I think this fit with the talent around that Atlanta offense.
I just think the problem with that, like I said before, is he's going to get thrown into a situation where he's having to start without getting the proper amount of time to sit behind and figure out, because it's a completely different speed, a completely different ball game than playing in where was that? The American Athletic, the AAC, or where?
Yeah, but you can't really down Cincinnati on that because they played
No,
name, they played Indiana,
I'm not doubting him on that, but I'm just saying it's a completely different ballgame than playing in the American Athletic Association.
Yeah.
Or conference, whatever they were.
Conference.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not. It's they're playing like big time football.
Yeah.
Especially since they got to play the NFC
Bucks.
East, or I'm sorry,
The Bucks, the
NFC
Panthers,
South twice.
Yeah.
They have to play the AFC North this year, which means they got to play Cleveland. They got to go out and play Pittsburgh.
Cincinnati, Baltimore.
They got to play all these big teams, and I mean, I'm not saying he's not good. I just don't think. I think he's going to get thrown into a situation where he's going to.
That's some strong defense. That's
Kind
some
of-
very strong defense
kind
and
of like a
strong,
Vince Young
strong
type
pass
of-
rushing
type
from
of
that
thing.
team.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, we're going to put a bow on this. Let us know in the comments who you think is going to have the best situation and the best career of the quarterbacks who were drafted this year. And as always, we appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe.